Okay, from Grandmaster Flash to ABC, the Lexicon of Love, one of my favorite album titles. I like anytime you have lexicon in the album title. So I think I start this one, but Matt, go ahead and run the numbers first.
So Lexicon of Love by ABC comes in at number 208 in the 1980s on Best Ever Albums, number 20 in 1982, number 1,277 of all time. It is ABC's highest rated album on Best Ever Albums. Not making Rolling Stone's list, but they are ranked number 969 of all time in overall artist rankings on Best Ever Albums.
Yeah, man. You know what this one is, Josh? This is a jammer, is what this album is. I deeply like this album.
Okay.
This was the surprise of the week for me. This was an interesting album in that I both recognized specifically none of the songs, and I felt like I recognized every song on this album because it felt like at some point or another I've heard this in some sort of movie or TV show or some environment, right? Like these songs are versatile enough that you could imagine them in like a advertisement all the way down to like a club. I guess I had no idea what to expect in this, and then by track 1, Show Me, I enjoyed it, and then by track 2, Poison Arrow, I was all in on this album. It's definitely campy, I'd say. There's a new romantic vibe all over this. I think it fits in that a little bit, synth-driven as well. It's funky. It's such an interesting pastiche of sounds. It's almost tongue-in-cheek at times in terms of how it's being sung. I don't know. It really was a groovy album that I like all the Look of Love parts, which is funny because it's Look of Love Part 1 and then it goes right to Part 4, which I find hilarious. I love the fact that there's just a random song called Forever Together, like in there. Like it's like winking. It's kind of we've covered some albums that have this wink, wink, nod, nod. Queen, of course, has that in elements at times. They can't. I think the one album, Josh, I thought of that I was not a big fan of, but I know you loved quite a bit from the mid 70s. This one doesn't have as much sexual innuendo, but you know the album I'm talking about, and it's on the tip of my tongue.
The 10cc album?
The 10cc album. There you go. There is elements of like kind of what that was doing in this as well, okay. But this was right up there with my favorite deep discoveries. It's why I love doing this podcast, because there is not a chance in hell I would have ever listened to this album if I wasn't doing. I don't even think this album would have remotely crossed my mind outside of, I might have heard like Poison Arrow, right? Or Look of Love Part 1 and just said,
yeah, Look of Love Part 1 I knew. But.
Yeah, but it's a jammy song, but I don't know if I would have, in the context it would have probably been shown to me, explored it, but this one, I could talk more about it, but yeah, this one's a thumbs up for me, man. I really enjoyed this album, and it rewarded the re-listen as well. So for me, thumbs up.
All right.
Yeah, I'm with... Go ahead.
I was going to say, I get the feeling it's not the case for Josh, but we'll hear what Matt has to say.
I'm with you, John. I think the first track, Show Me, starts off kind of like, it's like an orchestra or like a big band kind of like slow entry. I'm like, is this what this? And then the album cover kind of threw me off too, because it's got like this guy in a tuxedo dipping a woman in a dress. It looks like very
old timey.
Yeah, and it looks very like 40s, So I'm like, oh, is this like a classical?
It's got that like da-da-da-da-da, like at the beginning, like you're in like a western, and then like this massive funk thing comes in,
right? And then it takes you in a totally different direction, and and from that moment I was like, well, that was interesting, and I love this too. This was very upbeat. I agree. It's got the funk, really cool upfront bass, like slapping, plucking the bass kind of stuff going on. It definitely sounds 80s as well. I was hearing Duran Duran, and when I started hearing Duran Duran, I'm like, okay, is this part of the new and you brought it up, John, the new romantic movement or whatever, new romanticism, whatever that genre is. I was like, is that what this is? And it certainly sounds like it's in that vein, and I guess that's what it is. But Yeah, very easy to listen to. I mean, you said it rewards multiple listens. Yes, but like I don't think one listen and I'm there. It's just very upbeat all throughout the record, and I like the guy's voice. He's got this high falsetto that he can hit these high kind of notes. In some ways, it gets campy's a good way to put it. I was thinking dramatic, but campy's a little bit better because it's almost like they know what they're doing. They know they're kind of being somewhat ridiculous in parts, but they're okay with it because that's what they're going for. And it's just fun. Like you could put any one of these songs on at a wedding, and even though people probably wouldn't know the song, they could easily find themselves getting down to. And that's, I don't know, that to me is like a great dance track, which I don't need to know the song. I just need to be able to feel the groove, and this is very catchy. So funny enough, like I put this on and I was like, yeah, I'd never heard any of these songs. I never heard of this band. And Sherry knew several of the songs here. So I was like, look at you. So she's still surprising me with stuff because I some of the music that she's aware of that I'm not. I'm just like, yeah, I have no clue. So, but I really like this too. And it did kind of blend together at parts for me, but that's not a bad thing. It's just that they hit this note and they hit it pretty well. This is a cool find. So where did this come from, John? That's one thing I don't think we talked about.
1001.
1001. Yeah. People should listen to this. It's a lot of fun.
I don't know, guys. I did not have the reaction that you did to this
Josh,
album.
you like to dance too. Like,
I'm kind of stunned that you didn't.
Yeah.
I'm kind of stunned you didn't like this.
What's not to like?
I don't know. Okay, first of all, you guys didn't mention it. It seems like a concept album about love in some respects.
Yes,
I mean,
to some
every
degree, I
song
agree.
is about love in one form or fashion.
Yes,
it just
like
sounded
the Stevie
like
Wonder.
It sounds like a. I also agree with you, Matt. I like the lead singer. His name's Martin Fry. I thought his voice was good, and he has some good range and power behind his voice. But I think this album just felt so kind of derivative of other bands that we've heard, especially Duran Duran. Now, it could be kind of a sliding doors thing where, in some other line, this band could have hit it big versus Duran Duran. I think they're all kind of treading the same ground. Frankie Goes to Hollywood 82. Also came to mind listening to this, especially on a song like Date Stamp.
Who else came to mind? I'm sorry, I missed
Frankie Goes to Hollywood.
Oh, okay.
So I think there was a lot of bands at this time in Britain trying to kind of do this type of music. Obviously, it is new romantic, also inspired. I feel like there's a lot of like lounge singing aspect to this album. I think that is part of the thing that turned me off of it, and I also just kind of got ground down by the repeating themes of the songs and the I don't know, again, like kind of the lack of hooks, but I also didn't kind of get the tongue-in-cheekness of it. I'm not sure. I felt like I thought they were being pretty sincere in terms of what they were trying to do.
Valentine's Day, can I read a couple things for you, Josh, that might do it? So there's lip lickings, unzipping, Harpers and Queens, From Here to Eternity, Without in-betweens. And then I hope you find a sucker to buy that mink stole, School for Scandal, Guess Who's Enrolled. I don't know. That's pretty firmly tongue-in-cheek on Valentine's Day.
I guess with the song title like Forever Together, that's also humorous. So I didn't pay attention to the lyrics that much. Probably should have. On this album.
There's also in that I stuck a marriage proposal in the waste disposal. If that's the trash aesthetic, I'd suggest that we forget it. That was also one of my favorites.
All right, so it's rising a little bit in my estimation now, but I think there wasn't enough variety on here for me. I think the repeating themes and kind of the structure of the songs and the fact that he was the only one singing kind of wore me down or kind of made me lose interest about halfway through. I did know the Look of Love song, part 1, which is the 6th track on the album. I think that was probably their most popular song. I didn't know any of the other ones. Poison Arrow was pretty decent. That has a good dance beat, and there's a drum machine in that. But something about this one just didn't stick with me. You
didn't think there were any hooks here?
I don't know. I just, maybe the songs all ran together, but there was nothing that kind of stood out that was like, okay, I need to listen to this again.
Yeah, I can see that. I see what you're saying, because it kind of, that's what I was saying. It kind of does run together, but like I just like what they do so well that like it's one theme after the other. But I don't know. I felt like they were good. There were hooks. I don't know. It was very catchy to me.
Yeah.
Me too. The bass lines and the lyrics alone are worth the price of admission for me. And then you throw in that I like the sort of the vamping nature of the lyrics. You know, when you can write lyrics like two's a party, three's a crowd, I'm surprised what gets allowed. That's, I mean, you've got me hooked when you're writing stuff like that. That's the funny, because, yeah, I was just constantly laughing at some of the lyrics.
And I like the production. Like, I like the sound of the guitar. Like, it definitely has like a
I agree.
A crisp guitar kind of production. It's like I said, it's definitely 80s, but it does evoke those sounds from a band like Duran Duran, or from, I don't know, a pop, or, you know, a more pop oriented 80s, you know, new wave act even at times. Yeah, it was just fun. It was a surprise. I was just like, man, one after the other, boom, 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 upbeat, funky, danceable, and catchy. So yeah, I'm a thumbs up.
Yeah, I'm just going to be in the minority on this one.
Yeah, I give this is a big thumbs up for me too. I enjoyed this one. I would say if you like funk, and if you like some of the albums we talked about before, as Matt said, and he's right, there's a genre, it's kind of the new romantic, but there's a genre of British pop that later like Wham and like Kajagoogoo and stuff are in, that also kind of this is sort of leading to as well. So if you like those types of bands, I think you might find an aesthetic in this as well that you'll like. But yeah, that's what gets the thumbs up for me. That's a good point.
It is kind of Blue-Eyed Soul as well, a little bit, I would say. I got that vibe too.
Okay.